Hi, my name is Brad Lancho. I'm the President and CEO of GoGold Resources. I'm joined here with Jose Carlos Flores this morning, one of our chief technical officers in our company. We trade on the Toronto Stock Exchange under the ticker GGD.
Great. Brad, nice to meet you. It's our first time that we've met.
Yes, good to meet you.
Hopefully in due course with this kind of COVID business on the way out, we can meet up in person, perhaps at PDAC or something similar.
For sure.
Brad, Jose Carlos, so glad that you're with me today. You've put out a new resource at Los Ricos North. We did that a month ago. You haven't spoken to Crux about it, I don't think, since then. And I believe you've got 100,000 meters of drilling planned for this year. Brad, perhaps you could give us kind of an overview of where you are now with the exploration program and what your plans are for the year.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess maybe on the intro there, I should have just given a quick overview of our company too, besides where we trade. Really, we're a Mexican-focused team and company, and our group and myself, in fact, almost all of my 30 years as in the mining industry. I'm a geologist, and of course, Jose Carlos is here as well. We've focused in Mexico. GoGold has a operating mine in Mexico, the Cabera tailings retreatment, which has been mining for 7 years now and processing, and has another 7 years of reserves. But on top of that, the real driver of the company here is Los Ricos. And yes, you're correct. Los Ricos, we had a maiden resource in our Los Ricos North project, which is, as in the name, just about 15 kilometers north of our Los Ricos South, where we also have a resource there at Los Ricos South as well. The project we've had since March of 2019. We are advancing it now with, we've drilled 150,000 meters so far since then, and we're drilling another 100,000 meters this year. And I think your question was, what will that 100,000 meters focus on?
Yeah.
As it's planned right now, it's going to be primarily Los Ricos North. And I'll just, if I can just share the screen for one moment, and I'll just give everybody kind of the orientation of where the south and the north are.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So again, we started here in 2019 in March, and we had 29 concessions at that point. So we had a good land position in the south where we had what looked like a good ore body there to drill, and we got going there, and we drilled 40,000 meters, and there we defined this deposit called the main zone in Los Ricos South. Now we've been consolidating ground ever since, and in Los Ricos North, we did the most of the consolidation up there. We added a few critical pieces that we needed, and then we were in a position to start drilling about 18 months ago, and we drilled 100,000 meters. We came out with the resource that we've just published, and you can see that there in front of you. It's a large resource for, especially for a maiden resource, almost 88 million ounces of indicated, in the indicated category, 122 grams, and another 73 million ounces of inferred, and that's at a grade of 111 grams. Almost all of this Merlin is pit constrained, and here we've, at a 29 gram cutoff, you can see what is within those pits, and about 96% of this is within pit constrained. So really, we're looking at a bulk resource here, and that bulk resource, we're really going to expand that, we feel, with this next 100,000 meters. And I'm sure you know from your experience in the mining industry, you know, there's infill drilling, and then there's real expansion drilling. Now, these 100,000 meters, about 80% of that is really focused on expansion of that resource in Los Ricos North. We think we're going to get the best value where we are right now, instead of really just focusing on infill drilling to bring that indicated to measured, to bring the inferred up to, say, indicated or measured. We think we want to first show how big this thing can be in the north, because we think it's pretty big. It's a big, big mineralized system. You know, the first cut here was 100 and, allow me just to, for a moment, just to combine everything, about 161 million ounces of combined. But we think it's going to be a lot bigger than that. And where we think it is going to get a lot bigger.
Can you pull up the map of the kind of the main ore bodies? Because when I was, so I've got a little sketch right in front of me here, and you've got the at Los Ricos North, you've got 5 main ore bodies. You've got the kind of the El Favor in the kind of southeast, and then above it you've got Molaloa and Casados, and
yes,
Orito and Trini. I think that map's really useful. It's what's interesting is that the grades at Casados and Molaloa seem to be a little bit higher, but I mean, not significantly, but, you know, kind of 20-30% higher. Are these all the same style of geological? I mean, sorry, let's go right back. Are we talking about classic Mexican mesothermal vein deposits with low-grade disseminations between the high-grade veins?
Yeah, this is a low sulfidation epithermal deposit. And what we see here are high-grade veins, and with stockwork in between these high-grade parallel veins. Okay. And and where we are in the system, I think we described it as mid-level. We're mostly in the silver gold portion of the system, except for one deposit in the whole district, El Orito, which the team feels is an upthrust block. So it upthrusted, and then the top was eroded away, and we're looking there more in the silver base metal portion of the epithermal. And
that's the one which has got the copper credit and the...
That's El Orito, yes. That's the oddball whole thing. And
sorry, and just in terms of your main ore-bearing minerals, you know, some of these epithermals have got some pretty fruity silver salts and things. You know, what does most of the silver sit in? Where does it lie? And what have you done in terms of petrography and metallurgical test work? And kind of, are you thinking ahead already on kind of how this might be recovered?
We are, and in the south, our metallurgy is actually, we're almost at the pre-feasibility level, and we're just finishing up a report on that. So, and then we see on an equivalent basis, we see about 90% recovery and in a whole ore leaching. So we're talking there about crushing, grinding, and agitated leach, and right to a doré bar. That's what in the south. And we see the same, correct me if I'm wrong, Jose Carlos, with the exception of El Orito, we see the same mineralogy in the north.
Yeah, it's exactly the same mineralization that you can see there. The same kind of mineral is possible to see there. And in fact, what's a guide when we get there to the places about it is exactly the same visually. And with the analysis, we see the same grade also. A little lower, but the same grade.
Yeah, a little lower, maybe a little wider zones and a little less strip ratio in the north.
Yes. Which
makes up a little bit of the difference for the grade. But as far as the silver minerals that we see in both the south and the north, argentite,
acantite also.
Yeah.
And the acantite, both the acantite also put you in the upper levels also. So it's the kind of mineral that you can see there.
Yeah.
And so Los Ricos South is also it's the same epithermal, you're roughly at the same kind of height as you are in Los Ricos Norte.
Same.
And it seems to me that one of the key exploration tools you've had in the past has been the old workings. I mean, I can see them on the maps. You know, the old the crossed pick and shovel, marking the adits and the old timer stuff. How much do you rely on that, and do you kind of work out from the old workings, or have you done kind of regional mapping and alteration mapping? And are you working outwards in, or are you working inwards out, or a combination of the two? Kind of, I just want to understand your kind of geological thinking on this.
Yeah, I'd say a bit of both, and you're right on that. You know, the old adage, the best place to look for ore is under the head frame. But and we've done that, but we've also brand new discoveries in areas that were not mined. And we've definitely moved out from where they have mined. Another notable thing is that all their mining in the past was very focused on narrow vein, and they didn't give much attention to the disseminated zone outside of the narrow vein. So we look at it more in the bulk sense. And that's why we can open pit these. And even the remnant, if you look at in the south around, it's called the Alabra in the main zone, there were some pretty big stopes there, of course, which we've taken out of the block model. And we had very good underground plans for those. But it's a great way now, because the grade is there, to remnant mine around those old stopes, because there is a very, very good halo there. And it's given us grade, by the way, in the south, the grade there is, and I know we're a silver company, even though we have the name GoGold, which is a little confusing, but it is what it is. All of us still think a lot in gold equivalent.
When I've been doing my research for this, I've just had my calculator out and I've just been back calculating into gold just to kind of calibrate, and then I put it forwards into silver again.
Yes, exactly. So if you look at the south, it's a 2 gram plus 2 gram open pit in gold equivalent terms, and that's something that anywhere in the world has a high probability of getting built, but especially in Mexico, where the costs are a bit lower. But just one more point to your question there. In the north, yes, we have done the first pass metallurgy. It's first pass. It's not optimized, but we're seeing very similar to our first pass that we saw in Los Ricos South, about 90% recovery on equivalent basis for gold, silver, and with the one exception, of course, El Rito. That's different metallurgy, and but there's almost 40 million ounces there, so there's enough there that it could warrant having a separate flotation cells in a combined processing facility. And what we've done there so far is really first pass. What we've done is just a con, see how much of the sulfide reports to a con in a rougher con, and that's as you know, that's your first pass kind of flotation work, and plus 90% of the sulfide reports to plus 90% of the metal reports to that rougher con. Now we have to do the cleaners and the scrubbers and take that concentrate to a better saleable concentrate, and that's the next phase in your kind of your flotation metallurgy and that's all. Everything else in the north, we think it'll be at this early stage. It looks like the south, it'll be whole ore leaching and great to doré ore.
When you say whole ore leaching, as in you're going to crush and leach in CIL tanks or the kind of equivalent. You're not talking about heat leaching. You're talking about
what the flow sheet in the south at the PEA level would be crushing, SAG mill, grinding, then into CCD or countercurrent decantation. Yeah, and then that rich solution would be high in silver and gold, and then that would go to a Merle Pro because of the silver content.
Of course.
Yeah, instead of carbon.
I'm so unused to silver processing. Forgive me.
I'm almost an adopted Mexican, but all of the Mexicans here, they think silver, and it's almost always Merle Pro here. Yeah.
Before we get onto just going back to the geology, what particularly interests me is the grade between the structures, in the stockwork zones. What's that kind of background grade? So the bulk of your material is grading what? Yeah.
So, and I know where you're going with that. Are you really just smearing out high grade into nothing? And no, we're not. If you look, typically between the veins, we're looking at grades of probably 70 grams silver.
To 200 for sure. You need to imagine a big system. I know that usually people think about the main vein with the stopper, and the stopper mainly will be a lower grade, but in this case, it's a big system where the vein is hosting a good grade, and the stopper is also almost in the same amount of grade. So when we model this, it's viable to model the complete zone going through, and you can chase all that through all the deposits. So the grade is still the same, almost the same grade in the gold zone.
And what we have here is we've used a 0.29 or 29 grams silver equivalent cutoff.
Yep. Which is, was that 0.4 of a gram gold or 0.3?
It's 0.3.
free. But that's, if we've done another sensitivity analysis on that, and I think just one moment, I'll just show you that for a second. It's kind of a good one to look at here. We just share the screen for one moment again. Now, what we did in the north as well is we used our costing that have developed for the PEA in the south. Yep. In fact, we updated it a bit with our actual work we're doing in the pre-feasibility study now. Yep. So to make it a little bit tighter. But it did, as a cutoff, there was 29 grams silver equivalent that still met cutoff, and some of that you would think of what I like to describe as a lip of the pit decision, because if you think of these open pits, and let me back up for 1 second here, and Jose Carlos, you can help me out here, but we think of some areas where we'll have just fabulous grades over 8 meters or plus a kilo. You think of some of the others that we would have had there, but big grades with, big numbers, but then in between, to still have that, and again, kind of in gold equivalent, have your 0.4, 0.5, 0.7 grams. Well, you want to get that 8 meters of a kilo, right?
Yeah.
That's is making tons and tons of money.
Yep.
And you could go underground and mine it, but what we really look at is, we look at the trade-off. We have a good idea of the underground mining costs from the south and from our experience in Mexico, and then it's just a trade-off. We say, well, no, it's still much better to go down to this depth open pitting, and then you're moving rock, and when you get to the edge of the top of the pit, you say, well, how many dollars would this ton make me? Maybe it goes to a low-grade stockpile for the end of the mine life, or maybe it goes to the mill then, because it makes you decent money, good money, and maybe it makes you tons of money, like your kilo stuff. But we have the advantage that our very high grade lives in a sea of moderate grade.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Can you tell me, I really like the fact that so much of that resource falls into your open pit, and that you've got those modifying factors, those classic modifying factors from your PEA down south to kind of inform your pit decision or your resource calculation for that northern area. What do you see in terms of kind of rock hardness and the nature of the stock working? Is there a sulfide transition? Is there an oxide sulfide transition, kind of a depth of weathering, and how hard is the rock?
Yeah, so our work in the south has showed a moderate for hardness, and a bit more on the abrasive side, though. And we've seen that. For example, we both worked in. I started the Ocampo project. That was one of our big mines, and Jose Carlos worked there as well. And that was pretty similar to that. We're in an andesite, a volcanic andesite, and not so hard, like a moderate on the hardness, but the abrasion is a little more. But that's all been worked into our processing costs in Los Ricos South, and what we see there is a total processing cost of about $16 a ton.
Thank you. I'm beginning to, these may seem like obvious questions to you, but it takes me a while to understand how these things fit together. I'm beginning to understand how the resource in the south is informing your work in the resource in the north, and how useful it is having that resource there at a more advanced stage of work. And when you go, it seems to me that with the commitment to another 100,000 meters of drilling, of which 4/5 is going into expansion drilling, really what it seems to me is the company strategy is trying to right size the resource here. It feels to me that what you're trying to do is trying to understand the kind of the global scale and potential for your land holding in this area. Am I right?
Yeah, and that goes, that question is, I guess, a little bit corporate strategy and a little bit technical, right? And why I say that is because it depends what size company you are. There's 15 kilometers between these two deposits, and you're exactly right. we're doing advanced engineering on the south right now, and that helps us with our view of the north. And we look at the north and with the 100,000 meters of drilling out there, and we had some concern that the market would perceive that when we put out that big resource up there that, wow, they found it, that's it. Now they're going to do infill or whatever. And it's more that we told our shareholders, and we have a lot of big institutional shareholders. We said, when we get to the first 100,000 meters, we're going to tell you where we are, give you a number, give the market a number. In no means, and we tried to stress this, that did not mean that we run out of potential in the north at all. So that's the 100,000 is going to be, again, about 80% expansion on that in the north, with 20% infill. And when you look at the deposit and you say, so we're trying to get an idea of the scope, mostly in the north, we're trying to see how big that can be. In the south, we're saying, we've got this, and we can do a pre-feasibility. We're well advanced in that right now. And for GoGold, this is where it goes into corporate strategy. For GoGold, build something that, along with Corral, we're a mid-tier generating plus 10 million ounces silver equivalent a year, generating plus $100 million a year US in free cash flow. Not bad for a mid-tier. It's a capex that we can very easily handle. 125 million. We've got about 60 million US cash in the bank right now, no debt. And then we're still in the north. We're building the big scale up there. Like I really feel that, and this is arm waving. This is not the technical Brad. This is the arm waving Brad. A little bit of technical here too. I think in the north it's going to get potential, and you know what I mean by exploration potential.
Yeah, it's a target.
Yeah, it's this is going to push 300 million, I think, in the north. So
well, okay, let's just hold that thought for a moment, because what should really happen if you've got these two things which are 15 kilometers apart? There should be one mine built, that's right sized for the potential for the area. You're exactly right on that. And there again, you go back to the corporate strategy and what company are we? We're a mid-tier. Now, there's another reason for showing obvious, and this is a little corporate strategy too, for showing the big size of this district. Yeah. Right. This is a district, and this is a district, and this is a district that probably should be in the pipeline in one of those major miners. It's that type of district, and I'm not here to wave the flag. We're going to be bought out. We're going to be bought out. That controls in somebody else's boardroom, not ours, right? Yeah. And what our control is, do we get a fair price for our shareholders? And how you get a fair price is to show the size of the whole thing. That's why 2022 we'll be growing this, and we'll continue to do engineering on that deposit in the south, because 2023 gets here, and then it's time to make a construction decision and build the first piece. Now, you're right, and they're 15 kilometers apart, have one processing facility instead of 5,000 ton a day mill as it's planned in the south right now. Really have a 15 or 20,000 ton a day mill, and be producing, again, in kind of your gold equivalent terms, something 300,000, 400,000. That fits in any one of those majors. Absolutely. And something plus 10-year mine life. So we want to show the size of the whole district. So we have that option open to the GoGold investors that maybe that great offer comes. And at the same time, on a parallel track, we want to be advancing Los Ricos South, because $125 million capex is nothing for us. We've done hundreds of millions of dollars of debt deals in the past, and we've raised well over $1 billion of equity in my career. So we can do that. Maybe the bigger one's a little bit of a bigger bite for a GoGold. Never say never, but that's kind of our corporate strategy right now. But we're going to keep all the options open, especially in 2022. Thank you. That adds a lot of clarity for me. One question then is that if you're going to be putting 100,000 meters into, let's call it 4/5, 80,000 meters into expansion in the north, you're going to want to, the slight paradox is that typically when you start in an area, you start in your best areas where it's easiest for you to see the quick results, and your exploration results are rewarding right at the beginning. So, and you've had a very rewarding 18 months on this on Los Ricos North. So now you've got to really apply your geological brain, start thinking about structure, start thinking about kind of the geological systems, kind of the mineral endowment of the region, and for the strategy of exploration to really fly and take off in 2022, you're going to need the geologists are going to have to earn their keep. And you're going to have to get the brain cells working and target with a little touch of genius. And I wondered what you can show me, tantalize.
We'll show you a couple things here. One is a cross section, and that's good to show you what we mean about that cross section you had up there first.
Yeah, it's both.
Yeah, there we go. You can see that there?
Yeah, great.
Okay, so there on the right, there's, back to your question about cross section. There's with topography. There's one of our cross sections through here, and you can see what we mean with the very high grade, and you can see if you measure the width of the bench across here, what's it, Carlos?
From here.
Yeah, across there. What do you show there?
80 meters.
80 meters. Like this is, you can see in the south, the average width of the ore body was 18. It's a little bit narrower, a little bit higher grade, but that's what I mentioned earlier about, yes, this is a bit lower grade in the north, and it's a very good point. I know we're getting off track here a little bit, but a very good point. Like, I don't want people to think that, hey, the grade in the north is in the pit constraint is 122. Is that good? Well, first of all, that's like 1.6, 1.7 grams gold equivalent, and in 80 meter to 100 meter wide benches. And you can see from topography there, the strip ratio looking pretty good. We're not, you're not supposed to publish your strip ratio in these kind of test of reasonable expectation pits for a resource, but we can say that it's much better strip ratio in the north. Anyway, we talked about how do I rotate this?
Okay, as with the scroll, push the scroll, staying this way, please.
Okay.
And then with the scroll, push it and turn.
Now, at the end of the program there, the guys discovered, and when I say the end of the program, not the right terms, at the
cutoff, the data cutoff.
That's right. At the data cutoff, the guys discovered something, and the east starts right about here, doesn't it? Right about here.
Yep.
And we found this with geophysics, right? So if you see my cursor going right there.
Yeah.
And we found with geophysics that we did on the western, like you were saying, a known part of the ore body where we say, hey, there's workings there, and there was 10 drill holes there. So that was an easy place to start. We knew we had something there. So we drilled in there in the first, 90 drill holes, and in alpha bore, we ended up what we wanted to end up with was a nice, ore body over there. And then we're trying geophysics, and we haven't in the past been big users of geophysics because we've dealt mostly in low sulfidation epithermal systems, with not a lot of chalcopyrite in them, as far as conductivity. But we tried IED on this, and the known part of alpha bore showed up really well. Great correlation, right? And then we said, okay, let's keep on going to the east, because we knew there was just some very, very small prospecting workings out there. And we ended up, there's, the block model on it, and we ended up with this. Now, that was very close to data cutoff, and the issue is that we didn't have, you can kind of see there, I hope you can. Here's our block model.
Yeah.
And for viewers who don't know kind of not familiar with that term, a block model is where you take the drill data you have, and through mathematical algorithms, and in this case, IDW squared, a mathematical formula, you take the data points and you extrapolate and you estimate, what that could look like, and this in an inferred category, okay? But to drill this to put some drill holes in this in a hurry, because we're up against that data cutoff point, and we were delayed our resource for about 6 to 8 weeks. There was a road that ran right across a long strike along this for about 900 meters. Yeah, right here. You can see those collars there of the drill holes, the top of the drill holes.
Yep.
The issue is, it was easy to get the holes in, but we need up dip drilling. Because even in inferred category, where we end up intersecting the ore body there, was a long way from surface, 150 meters from surface. And the inferred didn't take us to surface. So if the inferred didn't take us to surface, when we did that, what you call like a reasonable expectation pit in the first resource study, we have this big gap of waste, what's classified as waste, between the top of our block model and surface. Well, we know that it goes to surface. We see it on surface. So all we're doing there to add, the next 15, 20 million ounces, just up dip drilling.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
nice.
We know the ore body's there. So it's just up dip drilling. So that's dirt simple, this one here, right? And just to the southeast of this block model, we have a few other geophysical targets. I mean, in fact, they were just hit by the very bottom of some of these deeper drill holes, those geophysical targets, and we got some good hits there. And we have to get over a little bit closer to those and drill the up dip part of those as well. So Alpha Bore East is going to play a lot into the ounce expansion here in this next 100,000 meters. And then we have another area called Gran Cabera. Now, Gran Cabera, and let me back up for a second here. Alpha Bore, especially the eastern part of this, and take a look at some of the great stuff in the, or sort of the western part of this. We had 10 drill holes, but we saw that exploration potential because we saw, big structures, good sampling on the surface, like really good sampling. And those 10 drill holes were from another junior from back around 2000.
Yeah.
And they were not that good of results. And they walked away from this. Now, what Jose Carlos and the team realized, because the core was still existing, and they looked at the reports, that they were only getting about 25% core recovery in the drill holes. So these guys went in, they've got a lot of experience in broken rock, drilling it, and they use a triple tube setup, right? And we were able to get, plus 80%, 85?
85 to 88.
85 recovery on the core.
And you normally find that the core recovery drops in the high grade zone because that's where the most fluid has been. The rock is the most chewed up.
Exactly. So we ended up getting good recovery, good samples, drilling 90 holes, and finding a large ore body in the half of this to the west that other people knew about, that we knew about, that we're getting good samples on the surface. And then doing that geophysics found the west or the eastern extension of it. And that's how we have the Alpha Bore body. And how many ounces in total in Alpha Bore? 58 million?
58.
58 million ounces in total in Alpha Bore. And we're going to add, I think we're going to add 15 to 20 million more here shortly. But I have a point here. My point is this. And Steve, if you would share for a moment my screen again. Okay. This very bright map here is where we started everything in Los Ricos North, along with a few very 10 holes in Alpha Bore. We had our Trini, we had 50 holes, and there's where we came up with that 100 and about 80, 90 million indicated, another 70 million inferred ounces. And if you can see this, there are the block models are in black there to the south.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're right. These ones here. That's where we found all of those. And there's another big area up here. And if you can describe, Jose Carlos, what the guys have been doing up there over the last 5 months.
Well, in the last 5 months, the guys started to find the same trend that we found in El Favor. It's a very good continuity of the same mineralization type, and also the same kind of rock. So we still see the same package and the same system. And that's why we say about we have a big district here, because at least we found the first 700 meters of a structure. Talking about some main structure of maybe 12 to 15 meters with a halo starboard getting until 30 meters wide. And everything with the same mineralization, same grade, same altitude.
And that's right in this part here, isn't it?
Yes, just that part.
And then we have some cover, and then we have another area here. We haven't done as much mapping, but there you're getting some good values and seeing some width over there as well.
Yes.
And that all combined is over 1,500 meters. It's from a starting point. We don't have drill holes up there. We started in Alpha Bore with 10 drill holes, but what we have are some old underground workings that have some sampling on them that give us good indication. They're not extensive workings, but we also have a lot of our own surface sampling that gives us real good indication. And we just started literally yesterday with the first drill hole into Gran Cabera. So it looks to us like something like Alpha Bore and almost the same data points that we started Alpha Bore on. And we'll be doing geophysics there as well.
Yes, that's a plan.
Over the next kind of 2 months. And we'll be doing a lot of the drilling focus up there. So I think we got a lot of still easy ounces to find up there. And you know what, these ounces we've found so far, and I think Gran Cabera will be the same. They're not your traditional, I mean, these pretty easy exploration when you say, how would you describe it?
Well, not easy or never, but it's described like the typical deposit, typical zone. I will say that we're going to repeat it for up there.
Easy for me because I'm sitting in the office and they're out in the boots on the ground. I call it easy.
Good. Well,
but easy also in the way that he's right there is a big district. This legacy map that you told before about it, a lot of hammers around all the place. When we saw that and we go, the team go to the place and start to find all the space, we say it's huge, this thing, and we're just testing all this time.
Yeah, that map came from 1916. It was and that was our kind of base map we started with all these, more than 100 of these prospects and old little mines. Yep. And that's when this district was in its heyday. So the guys went out and the first thing they did was start tracking down all those hammers on the map. And that was a great starting point.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. I've got a much better understanding of this. I look forward to seeing the news releases through the course of the year. Really, essentially, success looks like showing the potential of the district, really, doesn't it? You're not quite a double, but showing that potentially you could get a double there from what your first maiden resource, that you're kind of halfway through the process and that there's a lot to play for in the area. That's what I'm hearing is success in the area. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, success here. I'd like to just point out really quickly one more thing. We have been doing a lot of work, surface work in Los Ricos South in our Jamaica plain, which is an extension of where we have our PEA.
Yeah.
But we're going to be doing, we started with 29 concessions, we're up to 44. There's probably a little bit more consolidation to come, and it would be in the vicinity of our PEA in the south. If that happens, nothing's done till it's done. But, we see great opportunities in 2022 to really impact our much further advanced Los Ricos South advance as far as engineering. So obviously down there where we already have the initial design for a PEA pit, working on pre-feasibility. If we can add a bunch more open pit ounces down there, that really impacts your net present value of that deposit. So we'll see what happens there, but we're working on things there to see if we can get some more consolidation done and find some more open pit tons.
Understood. And thank you very much. And I look forward to getting another update in due course during the year.
For sure. That's great. And we appreciate your interest and thank you.
Thank you.